Have you ever wondered if you're truly awake? Not just physically, not just because your eyes are open and you're moving through the day. I mean deeply awake, aware, present, alive in the truest sense of the word. Most of us go through life doing what we're told. Following routines. Chasing goals we didn't even choose for ourselves. We wake up, go to work, scroll on our phones, talk about the weather, complain about traffic, worry about the future. We call that living. But is it really? Jiddu Krishnamurti once said, "Waking up is realizing you've been asleep your whole life." And when I first heard that, it hit me like a punch in the gut. What if he's right? What if everything I believed about myself, about success, about happiness, was just programming? What if I've been living on autopilot, just reacting, not thinking, not questioning, just repeating? Krishnamurti didn't offer answers. He didn't give you steps or rules. In fact, he warned people not to follow any teacher, not even him. He believed that truth isn't something handed to you by someone else. It has to be discovered directly, by you, through self-awareness, through deep observation. He said that real freedom is freedom from the known. Think about that for a second. Freedom from the known. Not freedom to do what you want, but freedom from everything you've been conditioned to think, to feel, to believe, from your past, from your fear, from your labels, from the idea of what you think you should be. Most of us never stop to ask the most important questions. Who am I? Why do I believe the things I do? Why do I chase approval? Why do I fear being alone? Krishnamurti taught that the moment you begin to observe yourself without judgment, without trying to change anything, something shifts. You begin to wake up. Not spiritually, not religiously, but inwardly. You start to notice how your thoughts jump from one thing to another, how your mind is never quiet, how you label everything as good or bad, right or wrong. And you begin to see that this constant movement of thought is what keeps you asleep. He didn't believe in systems. He believed in seeing, just seeing, with clarity, with honesty, not through the filters of belief or tradition, but through direct perception. He once said, "The ability to observe without evaluating is the highest form of intelligence." That line stuck with me because it's so simple yet so rare. We're always judging, always reacting, always trying to fix or escape what we feel. But what if we just watched, just paid attention? What if we looked at our fear without trying to run from it? What if we looked at our loneliness without calling it bad? That's where real transformation begins. In the stillness of awareness. I remember walking through a park one day, and for the first time, I noticed the sound of the wind in the trees, the way the sunlight touched the leaves, the rhythm of my own breath. It was like the whole world had been there all along, but I was too busy thinking to notice. That's what Krishnamurti meant. Not some mystical awakening. Just presence. Just silence. Just awareness. When you see clearly, thought slows down, the noise fades, and in that silence, something opens. A kind of intelligence that isn't based on memory or books, a kind of peace that doesn't depend on circumstance. He challenged people to die to the past every moment, to let go of identity, to let go of attachment, to live without a center. Most people found that idea terrifying. No center, no ego, no self-image to protect. But maybe that's the only way to be truly alive. When you stop clinging to who you think you are, you become free to simply be. No resistance, no masks, just being. That's not easy. It takes courage. It takes honesty. But it's the only thing that leads to real freedom, the kind that no one can give you, and no one can take away. So when Krishnamurti says waking up is realizing you've been asleep, he's not insulting you. He's inviting you to look deeper, to pause, to question, to observe, and maybe, just maybe, to discover a way of living that is completely free. But here's the strange part. Most people don't want to wake up. Not really. Because waking up means letting go of comfort, letting go of certainty. It means seeing the mess inside your own mind, and that can be painful. It's much easier to stay busy, to scroll, to gossip, to chase success, to complain about politics, to find someone to blame. That's the easy way. Krishnamurti called it the escape. He said we are always escaping from ourselves. Through entertainment, through religion, through ambition, even through relationships. We fill every corner of our lives with noise, so we never have to face what's inside. But silence, that's where it all begins. Not forced silence, not sitting in a room trying to meditate with your mind screaming, but real silence. The kind that comes when you're fully present, when you're not trying to change anything, when you're just watching, without control, without effort, just observing your thoughts like clouds passing through the sky. Krishnamurti believed that this kind of awareness is the key to transformation. Not self-help, not discipline, not motivation, just awareness. But most of us are afraid to look, because we already sense what we'll find. We'll find fear, loneliness, insecurity, and no one wants to sit with that. But Krishnamurti said, if you don't face it, it controls you forever. So what does it mean to really wake up? It means seeing how much of your life is built on fear. Fear of being rejected, fear of being ordinary, fear of not having control. It means seeing how much you've been conditioned to compare yourself to others, to want what they have, to believe that happiness is somewhere out there, always just out of reach. It means realizing that your entire identity might be a mask, a collection of opinions and habits passed down from people who are also asleep. And once you see that clearly, something shifts. It's like the spell breaks. You no longer believe your thoughts automatically. You no longer chase validation. You no longer feel the need to fit in. You start to become an observer of your own mind, watching it without judgment, seeing how it moves, how it creates problems, how it invents stories. And in that space between thought and awareness, a new kind of intelligence begins to emerge. One that isn't based on fear, one that isn't shaped by the past, one that's alive, present, and alert. Krishnamurti said that truth is something living, not a fixed idea, not a belief, not a tradition. It's something you have to meet freshly, moment to moment, and that can only happen when the mind is quiet, not dull, not hypnotized, but quiet in its attention. Have you ever listened to a bird singing without naming it, without calling it a bird, without analyzing the sound, just listening? That's the kind of awareness he pointed to, a direct contact with life, without separation, without interpretation. He didn't promise peace, he didn't promise happiness. He simply pointed to freedom, freedom from the known, freedom from psychological time, freedom from the idea of becoming. And that kind of freedom can't be bought, can't be taught. It has to be seen, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. The old way of living, chasing, struggling, pretending, it just doesn't make sense anymore. You begin to live differently, not because someone told you to, but because you've tasted something real, something silent, something whole. Waking up doesn't mean you stop working, or stop being in relationships, or move to a mountain cave. It just means you stop living unconsciously. You stop living through memory. You stop reacting blindly. You start to meet life with fresh eyes, with a mind that's not clouded by fear or habit. That's what Krishnamurti taught. Not a method, not a movement, but a mirror to look deeply into yourself, not to fix what's broken, but to see what's true. And when you do that, when you see without effort, without trying to become better, without comparing, without resistance, that's when something new is born. Not a new belief, not a new identity, but a new way of seeing. And that seeing is the beginning of freedom. And the moment you begin to see clearly, even for a second, you realize something powerful. No one is coming to save you. No book, no guru, no philosophy. And strangely, that's not a sad thing. It's liberating, because it means the key has always been in your own hands. All you had to do was look, not outside, but inward, to watch the way your mind operates, to watch how it creates division, how it creates conflict, how it searches for security in things that are always changing. And when you see that, not just with your intellect, but with your whole being, a shift happens. You begin to live differently, more simply, more honestly. You begin to respond to life, not react from fear. You stop pretending. You stop running. You stop becoming. And in that space, where the mind is quiet, alert, and free, something beautiful begins to unfold. Not something dramatic, not something loud, but something real. A deep peace. A stillness that doesn't depend on anything. You begin to feel connected, not to an idea of the universe, but to life itself. You see the tree, the sky, the people around you, not as objects, but as living, breathing realities. You feel the sacredness of ordinary things. You feel present, alive, awake. That is what Krishnamurti pointed to. Not a dream, not an escape, but truth. Raw, simple truth. And once you've touched it, even for a moment, the desire to return to the old way dies. You can't go back to sleep. Not fully. Because now you know. You've seen the illusion. And you've also seen what's real. And that seeing is the beginning of awakening. So maybe waking up isn't some grand event. Maybe it's not a light in the sky or a voice from above. Maybe it's just this, sitting in silence, questioning everything, watching your mind, letting go of control, and opening yourself completely to what is. No filters, no resistance, just this moment, this breath, this awareness. You don't need to follow anyone. You don't need to believe anything. You just need to look, honestly, fearlessly, and from that looking, something new is born. Not a better version of who you were, but something entirely different, something free. And that maybe is what it truly means to be awake.